Hi everybody. So today we're going to continue with our color mixing, and today's color is pink. And I know pink is easy to get. You just mix red with white, you get pink. But there are so many different variations of pink and so many different shades and tones that you would use in, like, say, a sunset or a sunrise or a rose, or even skin color. So many different shades, and we're just going to go over a few. I'll show you how to get like the brightest pink and more muted pinks. So we're just going to start off with a basic pink. Excuse me. This is primary red, and of course the white. Oh, this is not white. This is white. I'm going to add a couple of dots of white because we're going to be using that a lot. So you take some red, and we'll start off with a little bit of white and mix it in. So it's primary red and the white, a little bit of white, you get a lighter pink. You keep adding the white to it to get the lightest pink color. This is all pretty basic stuff. So you get right down to a very light pink if you want. We'll do a little swatch on the paper so you can see. It's a pretty pink. I don't know if you can see that. But what if you wanted a different color pink? Then you just pick a different red. A popular red that most people have is Cadmium Red. This is a Cadmium Red medium. So it's like a deeper red than the primary red. So when you mix in your little bit of white here, you do get a pink, but it's not quite the same pink as you got from the primary red. Adding a little bit more. And you can see it's a different tone. Oh. You can see how different it is there. We'll do a swatch over here next to our first one. You can see it's a little bit more muted, duller tone. I have a blog post with all of these colors mixed and also a color chart. I'll link it in the description below if you want to go have a look at that. We'll try Pyrrole Red. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope so. And again, you will get a different tone or tint, I should say. This is like a much brighter red. So let's take a chunk of white and mix it in. My shaky hands make it a little bit more difficult to mix. I'm sure you guys will make a better job of mixing it than I do, but I'm trying not to take too long, make this video too long. So again, you have a totally different pink. And my brush keeps falling apart. I'm going to have to get another brush. Some of my brushes I've had for so long that the glue, and it's a hint for you for when you're cleaning them. I'll show you. This part is actually glued in here, and over time, if you let them sit in water or you're using harsh cleaners, over time the glue can release. You can see I must have left this sitting in water because some of the coating is gone and your brush starts falling apart. So that's why never leave your brushes sitting in water for any longer than absolutely necessary. Now, another trick too with this is if you want to warm up your paint a little bit, your pink mix, you can add a touch of yellow. So let's add a little bit of yellow and make it a little bit more warm. Of course, this will actually dull it down a little bit as well, right? So it's a little bit warmer. I'll bring this closer so you can see it. So it's actually a little bit warmer than the previous one. If you want to make your pinks a little bit cooler, you can add a little bit of blue. This is Cobalt Blue. So we'll use this one here. I think I used too much blue with this, but let's see what we get. We'll just add a little bit more red in there. So you get a cooler color. Oops, wrong brush. It's a cooler. It's almost leaning towards a purpley pink. So you can see that's cooler, a little darker, of course, because the blue is dark. To get a really bright pink, we're going to use Quinacridone Magenta. This will probably give you one of the brightest pinks. It's a bright color. It almost leans towards a purple itself. So we'll add some white to that. Make sure I got a clean knife. So and you can see the nice pink it's giving us. Can add a little bit more white. You can add as much white as you want to get the color that you're going for. So you can see it's getting lighter and lighter. This is probably the brightest pink you're going to get, other than neon. But the problem with the neon pink is it's not light fast. So if you're using it in a painting that you're going to sell and you want it to be light fast, don't use a neon pink. This is the magenta. You see how bright that is compared to the other colors. This would make it a lovely color. I have roses in my garden in summer that look almost like that. Of course, you can keep adding as much white as you want to make it a really light pink. The other trick to color mixing is if you want to dull down the color to make it more muted, you add a tiny bit of green, because in order to mute colors, you use the opposite on the color wheel. So we have our red. The opposite is green. So if we have pink, we add a little bit of, pink is a tone of red, so add a tone of green. So if you want to really mute it down, add the straight green. Let's pick, well, we can do a little bit here. I don't think it's all dried up yet. Maybe a spray water to keep everything from drying out. You can see that's starting to really dull down the pink. So, dulling it down, making it a little darker. We'll add it up here. This is our original pink mix, and this is a more muted color, which I could have probably mixed a bit more. You can also add a little bit of white to your green if you don't want quite such an intense muting, I guess is the word. And I should tell you, this green is Phthalo Green. It's a beautiful color on its own. See, now you can take a little bit of this and add it into your, it's a very strong color, so definitely add little bits at a time until you get the pink that you want. This is almost gray because I added too much green, so scrape a little bit more pink in there. And when you're mixing a color to use in a painting and you're not familiar with that color, or you haven't mixed it a lot, mix it on a piece of paper. Mix a small amount on your palette or a piece of paper first to make sure that you get what you want. Because if you mix a big area of paint, you're wasting paint if you're not getting exactly the color you want. This is almost a purpley pink with the magenta. I really like that color too. Add more pink into it. If you do too much, you can add more of the base color to kind of bring it back, and then add a little bit of white. So you play around with it until you get whatever it is you're going for. Whatever colors you have in your paint collection, I would suggest you sit down and play around with them and keep a swatch like this. And actually, I didn't write on this today, but I will go back and do it. Usually, I write what the mix is. So I can go back and look and see what colors I want. This is turning out, yeah, I used way too much green. It's turning out to a purple, which of course is a nice color too. Let's see. So in order to show you properly, we're going to skip the purple and go back to, this is our cadmium mix. And add a little bit more white to that. See, mistakes happen, right? And this is the one reason that you start off small and you start off with tiny amounts of the darker color, because it can really get overwhelming quickly. So let's mix up some nice pink here. So we have a nice amount of pink. Now, wipe off your knife so you don't contaminate your other paint, and we'll start with this tiny little amount. I don't know if you can see that. We'll start with that. Actually, I'm not even, there we go. Now we have a duller color. Add a little bit more in to make it even more dull. Desaturated, I guess, is the proper word. So now we have the dull down pink. And this was our original pink mix here. You can see it's duller. And we'll put some above here, so you can see it's much duller. So we can also try a deeper red. So this is Alizarin Crimson U, and it's much darker, as you can see. But we can still get a pink, even from a darker color. So add some white. And the Alizarin Crimson tends to make a duller pink, almost like the desaturated one we made. The brighter colors, of course, make the brighter pinks, and the magenta makes the brightest of all. You can see it's a duller, much duller pink. If you want to make an earthy pink, you can always add a little bit of burnt umber. And again, a tiny amount. The problem I have is because I shake, sometimes my tiny amounts are not tiny. Let's see if we can get a tiny amount. There we go. We can add that into here. As long as you don't mix up a great big bunch, you can usually adjust. If you add too much of the burnt umber, you add a little bit more pink or more of the base color or more white, and sometimes you can bring it back. Not always, as in this case I couldn't bring it back because I used way too much, but I do like that color. It's very pretty. Because the Phthalo Green has a lot of blue, so when I mixed it with my pink, of course blue and red make purple, so you get this lovely lilac color, which is something I might put in my book for future use. So there we have a more earthy pink, almost like a dusty rose color. So compared to the other pinks, let's swatch that out too. So that's a basic pink mix with a little bit of burnt umber to give you a more earthy color. And like I said, you can play around with whatever colors you have to come up with your own mixes, because there are so many colors and everyone has different ones in their paint supply. And remember too, the manufacturers, different manufacturers have slightly different pigment ratios, so you might get a slightly different color than what I have here. Most of these, all of these, are using Liquitex paints, so another manufacturer may have slightly different different color mixes. Most websites, most of the big manufacturers have websites that list the pigments that are in each paint, and some of them even have color mixing charts if you want to look into those. Anyway, I hope this was helpful and enjoyable, and if you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.